Hey guys, what's up? Brandon here, and welcome to the Lake Series. The whole purpose of this Lake Series is to, if you're new to Tulsa or you're new to fishing or just want to know more about the lakes in the area, that's what it's designed to do. So let's get into this week's lake. Okay, so this is Okemah Lake. It's located just southwest of Tulsa. It's probably an hour and 15-minute drive, depending where you're located. It is located just north of the town of Okemah, straight down here. It's kind of a lake, kind of windy roads to get back there actually, kind of off by itself. So Okemah Lake is actually two lakes in one. I don't know when they joined them, but there's a kind of a clear marker where you can tell where they've joined them. This is basically the old dam. Here's kind of where you come through. This is the old lake down here. New lake up here, but you can see the rock wall, and when you're there and drive through you can kind of tell there's a drop off there as well that drops down in the new lake. Okay, so how it fills up is it's mainly rainwater, but there are two creeks that fill the lake. This Butcher's Fork that comes in here, I'll zoom in here a little bit more. This Butcher's Fork that comes in here, and actually when it's flooded, when the lake's up quite a bit, you can get way back in this, which I have before. Typically it's pretty muddy, but you can get back up in there. And then the other one is for the old lake down here that comes in this Buckeye Creek. So the ramp locations, there's two ramps. There's only one way to get on the lake. You have to go through the main entrance here. As you're going in there's a place to grab a ticket to fill out to pay the $5 boat launch fee, or if you're camping, this is where all the camping is. Right now it's kind of on the side of this house with this little box, but they're building a brand new one, depending on when you're watching this video, will be done soon or it's already done on the other side of the road, as you can see there. And then you kind of wind your way back in here. I mainly have launched just at this first ramp because that's just right when I pull in. They're both good ramps, and as you can see you can kind of go around the curve here, and that other launch is there. I don't know if there's a preference for anyone. I guess it depends on the wind, but they're both good ramps, well taken care of, and overall everything's ran pretty well by the city of Okemah. As for the dam, it's a smaller dam, and it's got a pump house or overspill, I don't know what you want to call it. Basically regulate when the water gets high to keep it from going over the dam. As for the lake breakdown, this lake offers a great amount of cover, just a variety, especially for a smaller lake. And, you know, it's got rock on certain banks, it's got a lot of flooded water willow, it's got laydowns, it's got docks, it's got some offshore humps and ledges and stuff that, you know, just kind of depending on what you like to do, there's a little bit of variety for everyone. For the most part on this upper end, it's got a little bit of deeper. It's deeper on this side. It's got a lot of rock, especially like right in here. It's got a bunch of rock all through here. Deeper, bigger chunk of rock, depending on where you're at in this section. This side actually, the channel swings right against these docks. So these docks are in fairly deep water. But right over here, this is all kind of flatter, slower sloping stuff with water willow kind of mixed in. Now as you get down to mid-lake, it's kind of hard to break down this lake because of how it sets, but I like to call from this point, you know, and covering these creeks, basically the new lake side is the mid-lake side. So around here, this is fairly flat, and most times of the year it's covered with grass, water willow, got flat points. As you work way back in here, kind of all this bank all around here is all usually covered in flooded water willow, some laydowns mixed in. And as you get back in here, as you can see, you get your shallower areas with flooded grass as well. From what I've read, this area here, these humps and kind of ditches and randomness you got going on here was created by oil field workers that were working out here that had left this behind, I guess. So I don't know if this was before the lake was filled or after, how this came about, but that's kind of why you got these kind of random little high spots out here. As you kind of go down here into this main lake area, it's fairly deep. You got some obvious points and stuff that stick out here in this area, which I'll show you here in a bit. And then you got your humps, and this point actually stretches way out in the lake. You get over here in this area, it kind of sets up like almost like a different lake in my opinion. It's got it's got water willow mixed in, some laydowns, but it's just got like ledges and drops and some rocks on certain banks. And as you get back in here, I'm in the creeks, obviously, it flattens out with some laydowns and a couple docks and things like that. But just like, again, it's got that variety. Through here, you got a little bit a deeper edge that touches this bank, some rock around these points, and obviously around by the boat ramps, you have lots of rock. As you get down into this area, the old lake, this is the old dam. So this is all deeper water. Obviously, once you drop over this, because there's a ledge that drops, it's like a swimming pool, kind of drops into the deep end here. And then you got deep water that runs along all these docks here, which can be good depending on the time of year. And then this side's the flatter side, as you can kind of see by the bank here. As you get further back into this creek, it really gets shallow and flat, and you get more mud and dirt and lots of laydowns. For the max depth on this lake, it's 46 foot, so pretty deep for a small body of water. The mapping is available on everything. I don't know for sure on Garmin, but I assume so because it's on Humminbird and Navionics. As for species, from what I could find, largemouth, crappie, catfish, and sunfish. I did see one report of a smallmouth. As for the stocking report, the most recent that I could find was 2020 was the last thing they stocked at Florida strain, about 60,000 of them. And every year they've stocked, they've been about inch and a half. So small fish, so a small percentage of those are going to live, but knowing that the history going back, if you look into this lake at all, back in the early 90s, this was like the #1 bass fishing lake in Oklahoma at one point. Had really big bags coming out of this lake. As for tournament data, I didn't find really any tournament stats or standings. Like I just said, this was one of the best lakes for a 5-pound limit in the state at one point. Granted, this was from 2006, but I just thought it was really cool data, just showing what this lake was and kind of still is. This is kind of a summary of all the bass lakes, and you can kind of read through this. But as you can see, Okemah had a 5.79 average big bass size, so lots of big bass. A lot has changed since then. I just thought that was pretty neat. You look down here, even this table, it shows you kind of the overall rank of those lakes in Oklahoma at the time, and Okemah was #2 overall for one of the best or top lakes in Oklahoma. They do have a lot of regulations for this lake. There's no more than 20 boats per tournament on this lake. Only 4 fish can be kept per team. One arm of the creek is closed to all fishing during spawning season, March 1st through May 31st. So I don't know which creek, if that switches every tournament or every year, or how that do that, but one is closed off. No tournaments will be held during the months of July and August, so they're protecting the fish there. And then no tournaments on holidays. So they got a few other small things, but those are the ones that stuck out to me. Okay, so for fishing areas, I've been to this lake a handful of times, so I don't know. I haven't really been on every cove and everything in it yet, just kind of hitting the main spots. But some of the stuff that I've found through the years, I'll kind of reveal here. A big area that I've always caught fish around, which is not that big a surprise, is this bank here and these points. Especially this bank here, it is so close to that deep water. Really, I guess you could say about all these banks. All the deep water is in the channels all come against this shallow bank here. Shallow flats got a lot of flooded water willows, some laydown mixed in, some trees depending on if it's flooded or not. But I've always had a good luck around this area. Been here mostly in the spring, throwing swim jigs and stuff around that grass. But there seems always be bass in this area of the lake. These spots here set up really well too. Just, like right here, you got those obvious points that touch deep water that are typically always going to hold bass. This area is so shallow back here. Just depends on the time of year when you're going to get bit. Obviously, if it floods in early spring, this area is going to pay off a little bit more. Some other areas I've focused on is just really honestly right around the boat ramp. It's good. It's got that deep water that swings against it. They got that riprap around it because of the erosion for the boat ramps and all that kind of stuff. So there's always fish around it. There's humps like right here that stick out. That deep water swings against. So that's a good spot. Continuing around the edge of this, there's rock. This ledge, like I said earlier, has deep water swinging right against it, which can be a good spot. This has lots of, which it doesn't really show it here on this map, but it's got like little good points that come out, which I've never been there the time of year where the offshore really plays, but it's got potential. You get back in here, you got docks, flooded water willow, deep water. This channel's still pretty deep going all the way back in here, so it just, a lot of variety there. And then this bank here, it's all rock. It's a big chunk rock with a channel swinging against it. So time of year again, you like throwing a square bill, those good banks like that. Going back here, I really haven't fished much back here. I don't know why, because this area has that deep water, goes under these docks. So I imagine those docks hold fish pretty much year round there. I haven't fished much of this bank here. Mostly I've, like I said, started in here and fished kind of this area. Going down into the old lake, these docks are really good through here, just because of that deep water that sits right under them. Lots of cover, good. I'm getting maybe because it's older, but there's just a lot of stuff on the bank on that side there. And then going back here, you get into laydowns, which I haven't had a ton of luck, but I've only fished it up maybe twice. So I strongly recommend this lake if you're in the area and haven't fished it yet.